welcome and welcome back to Room Lasagne. Let's welcome our next speaker, Erico Andrei.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for coming, especially the guys that went drinking last night. Okay, I'm going to talk about Brazil usage of Python, especially Plone, because it's where we have more information in the Brazilian government for the past 10 years or so. I'm Erico Andrei. I have a company called Simples Consultoria. I'm part of the Plone project, and I'm one of the members of the Brazilian government Plone community. So that's why we created this community in order to share information between our members to see what's happening. You will see in the next few minutes that Brazilian government is like every other government in the world. You have little fields, little islands of power, and there's a lot of power disputes, so collaboration is not an easy task, okay? First, a little bit about Brazil. Who went to Brazil? Thank you. There's a friend in here, a Dutch guy. Please raise your hand. They used to be a Brazilian, but now he's happily Dutch. A little bit about Brazil. We love soccer. We are not that good at the moment, you know. We hope our Messiah will arrive, but we love soccer. Of course, not inside the Python community. Inside the Python community, like everywhere else in the world, it's kind of sports. No, it's not fun. Also, we love this thing called Carnival and Samba. Also, within the Python community, is lots of, oh, that time of the year again, all these noises, oh, I must travel to Europe or other place because I can't stand it. And of course, we have a lot of great places. You know, you can come and visit us. Our National PyCon will be held in November in Rio de Janeiro. So it's a great opportunity or a great skills to go to Rio de Janeiro. And especially, you know, we would love not to be like the movie, but the Brazil, all the bureaucracy is there in the country. We're not proud, but most of all, there's something happening in Brazil. We love internet. There's a lot of study going on right now, but we have 80 million people connected. We have 190 million inhabitants, and 80 million of them have internet access. This is huge, especially when you consider the huge difference between the poor and the rich in the country. And this is a very important phenomenon. Also, they spend 48 hours a month online. Some of them, like my mom, it's way more than that. Most of the time on sites like Facebook, you know. It's a shame my mom discovered Facebook, and now she came to me and, oh, now I have a Facebook. Like, whoa, I'm a billionaire. But no, it's just the way Brazilians like to own stuff. We are 30 million on Facebook. That's why you see a lot of animated GIFs and nice pictures all around. But none of this is important when you compare to that, the next information. We have 24 million tax reports delivered through the internet last year. That's equal to 100% of all tax reports are done through the internet. This began, I think, in '95. So during my entire life, I'm doing the tax reports through the internet. You know, in the last few years, it became mandatory that you should either you do through the internet or you go to a place where they do for you. Okay, so we're talking about taxes, right? The government loves the internet. It saves a lot of money. It saves a lot of processing power for them. They don't need to hire an army of people to manage the reports and receipts. And most important than that, the government loves open source software. Since 2003, the Brazilian government recommends to all its members and autarkies and organizations and ministries that you should use open source software, okay? As I said before, Brazilian government is a government, you have a little field, so from time to time there's a huge news like, oh, this state bank is bidding for $100 million with Microsoft. Just Microsoft is allowed to put a bid. But other than that, the government as a whole prefers open source software, and it's a long-term commitment. It's doing quite well since 2003. And most important, within the open source community, they love Python. It became this affair with Python became with Plone, and right now we begin to hear stories about, oh, there's a Django application in there, there's a Pyramid application in there, oh, these guys are doing an entirely new open source project using Python, and this has been, and this is the main drive our local Python community, okay? Most of the guys that right now work with Python, they had someone from either employed by the government, contracted by the government, or teaching them and evangelizing Python for them. So if you look the internet, you will see a talk I gave in 2006 bashing the dependency of the Python community on the government money. I thought it was a dumb idea because governments come and go. Since that time, we have a lot of opportunity in the private initiative, but most important, the government still loves Python. We have 3 branches. In the executive, we have some very nice initiatives. This one is a Django application to map properties all around the country, use GIS and is open source. Serpro is the IT company from the government. They had 200 Plone sites deployed. Polícia Federal is our FBI. They have a lot of sites in internet in Plone. We have the Senate, the Chamber of Deputies of the country. We have major Python examples all around the government. And most important is any one of these cases is quite an island. People kind of, okay, somebody told me about this Python stuff. What about if we try it in here? And they began working, and they love. And then a few years later on, we discover, oh, there are 15 guys working with Python and Plone inside the ministry. It's kind of, where are these guys? I will spend most of my talk talking explaining 3 examples. Of course, I could have picked any other example, but these 3 are what I think the best ones we have in the country. First one, it's a Plone portal. Our main portal, brazil.gov.br. Before the launch of this version, we had, at the same time, 135 people working together to make it happen. Mainly because most of them, we had 20 Python developers at the time, but most of them were journalists. What they were doing was, okay, governments are very, very fragmented. You have the ministries and you have secretaries inside the ministry, and every single one of these places have a director, or I would like to say a little czar that wants to do things his own way and wants to publish information on the internet his own way. And that's fine, but when you, as a citizen, want to get information about something like, okay, I want to move to Brazil, what should I do? there are 5 or 6 different places this information is right now. The Brazilian government decided, what if we won't change the government? We won't make it more efficient from one day to the other, from one day to the following one. So what if we create a layer, a portal that actually points people to the right information? So I want to work in Brazil. These are the links you're looking for. This one, this one, this one, this one. I want to do business in Brazil. You have a lot of other links. So this portal is actually the front page of the Brazilian government. You can compare it to the first Gov initiative in the US. And there are a lot of different initiatives with the same idea all around the world because it's a no problem. It won't change, actually. So the best way is put a thin layer over it and have this thin layer with people editing content in order to make it easier for the end user to find. One thing, this portal actually developed 96 new Python packages, and we open sourced 0 of them, mainly because bureaucracy sucks, and we're still waiting for someone to say, oh, it's safe to do that. No one will be prosecuted a few years in a few years because of any kind of political change in the country. So it was very disappointed because most of the people involved in here, including the people managing the project for the government, they want to give it back, but they are not allowed by law. So it's kind of, yeah, we love open source, but we are not allowed to openly contribute with open source projects. We have this other huge case. It's the electoral justice in Brazil. How many of you knew that Brazil has electronic voting for all of its citizens? One person? Not even the Brazilians raising hand. Oh, okay. So even at the most remote place in Amazon, at the election time, there's a machine that is delivered to the place, the guy votes, they pick the data on a pen drive or something like that, go back to a place, and they count the votes. So Brazilian elections, usually we have results in a matter of hours after the election, the polls close. It's very interesting because we've been doing that for the past 15 years. And I think since 2000, it's the whole country. Even the most remote places, they use the system. The electoral justice of Brazil is quite a huge organization because you must go into very, very distant places. And what is organized with a main court called the Tribunal Superior Electoral, and 27 regional courts, which one responsible for one state, that are the Tribunais Regionais Eleitorais. And within this, each one of these regional courts, you have small jurisdictions, okay? Each one of these jurisdictions should be, wants to publish information on the internet. Until 2009, the main idea is, okay, I will put a server on here, and I'll have a site. I will create with PHP, Dreamweaver, all these very, very interesting technologies. And in 2009, the administration of the electoral justice as a whole decided, what if we change this game? What if we have a federation of portals centralized in our structure here in Brasilia, because we have the people, we spend a lot of money with links and data centers and stuff. And from here, everybody will have its own site. And it's an ongoing process. Right now, they have already 10 regional sites migrated to this new structure. So you have states like Santa Catarina or Acre that already are putting their information in this structure, and they have the main site is the Tribunal Superior Electoral. All of this runs in one Plone site. This main Plone site have small sub-sites for each place. Each place will have its own users, permissions, and stuff, and so on and so forth. So to run this great structure, the big one, they have 4 Python developers and a team, I think, of 3 system administrators. But when you go to each of the regional courts, they have their own IT team, their own Python developers, because even that the main portal, the internet portal, is centralized, every one of them is allowed to have a local internet. And right now we have 15 of these regional courts already with Plone internets, and some of them already with some kind of Django development or something based on SQL Alchemy to basically replace Java or PHP applications they have in the past. Okay. In the end, you can see this as a huge community of Python developers. They are quite closed. They are not, you see, you just discover these guys when you go to regional places and see how come you can have 5 Python developers in here and we never heard of you. Have you heard about this mailing list and stuff? Yeah, we lurk around. It's cool, but, you know, I don't know. I'm a shy guy, and my job ends at 5 p.m., and I need to go to the beach, and, you know, it happens quite a lot in this type of cases. These guys are planning to do a major revamp on their structure for 2013. Right now, from 1st of June, they are not allowed by their main administration of doing anything new because it begins the electoral period in Brazil. So everything they do right now is to make sure the elections go right. So it's kind of, yeah, we need to train new people to manage the machines. We need to test the machines. We need to peer review the source code. We need to talk to each one of the parties and so on and so forth. And my favorite one, these are, at least on my point of view, the crown jewel of open source in Brazil. There's no one doing what they're doing. It's Projeto Interlegis. These guys, they are a joint project by the Inter-American Development Bank that puts the money and the Brazilian Senate that gives the nice building and the employees. This project, their main goal is to make sure that every local chamber of deputies in every city or city council, when it's city related, every city in the country and every state in the union have IT-powered legislative process. So it's, okay, we have a new law being discussed. There's a no workflow for this. When the law is approved, this information must go to a centralized database so anyone in the country can, okay, I want to know what this most stupid law about dogs is in the country. And you go to this place, it's called LexML. I think it's lexml.gov.br. It's kind of a Google for laws. In Brazil, we have this passion for Google. So every time someone builds something new, oh, it will be the Google of something. But what the Interlegis does is they maintain this LexML project. Actually, the real server is Java-based, but all the consuming producers and consumers of information are Python-based. And right now, they reached 180 legislative chambers in 4 countries: Brazil, East Timor, Guinea-Bissau, and Paraguay. No, Venezuela, that I'm aware of. And they have a community of at least 200 members talking to each other about how their deployment went and what they should improve. This whole project is based on some small products, all these nice letters. The most famous one, but the least important, is the Portal Modelo. So if you have a legislative chamber and you want to have a portal on the internet, where do I start? You actually download a Debian package. It will install a Plone site for you with already everything set up. All you need to do is change your logo, eventually some colors, and you're up and running. Of course, that works very well if you are a big city and you have servers and you have someone with IT knowledge. But there are places like São Mamede, that's a small city in the middle of Maranhão. That's a very poor state in Brazil. That the city has actually 3 buildings. One is the church, the other one is the city hall, and the third one is the butcher shop. And the legislative chamber would not be allowed to be on the church, separation of church and state, you know. Not on the city hall because you are mixing branches. So where it is located? On a back room, on the butcher shop. It's kind of course, the guy in the butcher shop is the major counselor in the city. Actually, he owns the city because he's the only one with some money in the place. And for them, what was proposed is, okay, we can bring a computer here. They'll take a computer to this place and look, and okay, now we need a telephone line. And we need, there's no high-speed internet in here. It's kind of useless to have a portal. So Interlegis has a structure to host portals for these guys. And actually Interlegis also hosts the Deputy Chamber of Guinea-Bissau portal because they have a slightly the same problem. They have a nice building in their capital, but the building has no electricity. And they have some computers, but they are used as paperweight because no electricity and no infrastructure in the place. Also, they have these 4 small products. SAPL is a ZOP-based application written in 2004 or so and being upgraded since, that controls the workflow of new laws inside the legislative chamber. So, okay, I want to propose a law. I am a deputy in here. I propose a law. These are the needed steps. At the end, okay, this law is published. It also exports this law as XML for this LexML project, integrating all the chambers in the country. The second one is the SAAP. Is kind of a way of putting the population in contact with their representatives. It's a portal. It's a solution, also ZOP-based, that allows the voters to, okay, let me send a message to my representative, and the guy responds, and so on and so forth. We have SAAL, that could be simplified as a Django-based ERP solution for these legislative chambers. Okay, it's great, we produce laws, we change the lives of everybody, but we need to pay bills. We need to have a budget, we need to control it. So this is a complete solution for this kind of situation. And at last, we have SPDO, that's a document management solution developed with SQL Alchemy and Z3C Form that allow you to manage the workflow of new documents arriving in the place. So somebody comes with a paper like a petition. Okay, this is the petition. This petition will be entered on the system, will be tracked through the whole life of this document. So it's everything good, everything fine. We have a lot of projects. I talk about 3 of them. What are the challenges we face right now? First, as I said, every single organization within the Brazilian government is an island. So you have a boss, and this boss is kind of, yeah, I don't like the other guy. I don't like the other guy also, and I want this to be developed my way. And it's very hard to impose something because you see governments change, the people running these small departments don't change. It's just a matter of the guy will stay there for many, many years, and he's kind of the czar of the place. And what happens is, okay, we have no way of talking to each other in a formal, in a unified way. The Brazilian government tried to create an agency to improve this kind of relationship, but so far they have a lot of good intentions. They produce a lot of material, but no real results. Okay? The second one is hiring Python people is hard. How many of you have heard something like, yeah, I can find Python developers anywhere. There's no Python developer. I'll switch to PHP because if I kick a tree, there will be 3 PHP developers over there. It's very common, isn't it? Actually, if you kick a tree, it will fall 3 PHP developers and some .NET developers looking for food. And of course, there will be a lot of Java developers. And there will be a lot of Java developers. Yeah, this is not the way of doing it. So actually, Brazil is the same thing. We have few colleges that have Python in their syllabus. I can remember 3. One in Brasilia, one in São Paulo, one in Santa Catarina, and one in Rio de Janeiro. We are trying to change that through the Brazilian Python Association, but it's an uphill fight because, okay, we are nice guys, we go to the place, but then Microsoft comes or Oracle comes and, okay, what do you know? Let's go for a ride in the US, you know, want a trip to Disney, and then it's very complicated. But what the Brazilian government does is something quite smart. Okay, I need to hire the best developers. I need to hire people that are able to think by themselves and, you know, improve. So they try to hire the best, get these guys in training. I think most of these small departments, people in there have at least one or 2 trainings a year. So it's kind of, yeah, the guy didn't know anything about Python, then he comes, he receives a Python training, basic training, and then, oh, if the place is running Plone, a Plone training. If the place is running Django, a Django training. We usually joke that in some of these places, people are better trained than any of the employees of our current companies, because these guys have access to a lot of information. And the third one is break the bubble. It's something like Brazil is fucking big, okay? We don't depend on anyone else. It's kind of, yeah, we speak Portuguese. The rest of the continent speaks Spanish. So we won't talk to them. You know, they speak a different language. When there's soccer matches involved, they all conspire against us. And also, Brazil is huge in size. It's very hard for you. For instance, I was talking to some guys in here. It's cheaper come here, spend a week, then go to Manaus in the north of the country. It's way cheaper for me to spend a week here, go to Venice, then go to Manaus. So what happens is every single... Oh, sorry. Have you heard about the Amazon forest? Yeah, there's a huge river there. Stevie Holden was there last year. He can talk about that, do a testimonial. But imagine that it's the capital of the state where most of the Amazon forest is. It's kind of, there are no highways there, because what's the point of driving through, I don't know, 15, 16, 100 kilometers with nothing but trees on your side. They tried to open a highway a long time ago, but it got rotten because there's no way to keep maintenance this thing. And the best way to reach Manaus from São Paulo, actually the civilized way, is to fly there. So you're flying during 2 hours of your flight, you can look down and it's green all over. You can reach there also by boat. If you leave from Belém, that's another capital in the same region, it will take you, I think, 3 or 4 days by boat to reach from one city to another. So these are very rich places in the middle of nowhere. These are the guys that, okay, I would like to come to a Python Brazil, or local PyCon, but you know, it's kind of hard. It's very expensive and my boss won't let me and so on and so forth. So these are huge problems we have. It's very hard to go from one place to another within the country, exception made to São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro and Brasilia, that it's kind of very, very common. You do these places. But the way we are finding, the way we found to solve this is, okay, not everybody needs to go in every place, but we can use the internet to get connected with each other. So we created this Plone Gov BR community to exchange ideas and so on and so forth. And this community talks to Gov community internationally, because, you know, everybody thinks, oh, Spanish is an uncivilized language and so, but one of us will speak Spanish eventually and we'll talk to the other guys and exchange some information and so on. And that was my talk. I would like for the opportunity and for the patience, and I'm here to answer some questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm just curious, in terms of in the governments in Latin America, like, do the other Latin American countries use open source a lot, have open source initiative? Is Brazil doing it much more than they are? And how did that come to originally be that kind of direction or focus?
It's interesting because the Brazilian government is doing diplomacy by giving open source solutions to other countries. So we have this huge procurement portal for the Brazilian government called Comprasnet. It was once developed in the Microsoft solution. I know I was there. I was one of the first developers back then. And it was rewritten as open source. And the Brazilian government went in every single country in Latin America and, oh, look at that, for free for you, you know? But no, there's no unified open source policy. There are places like Argentina. You have Rosario is the third largest city. They decided to use open source by themselves. But everybody in the country is kind of, yeah, it's hard to sell the idea of open source. Their governments don't see defining a strategy, open source as important to them. So what happens is we hear a lot of initiatives all around Latin America, but it's kind of, yeah, a guy in there did something. Exception to the rule outside Brazil is Venezuela, but it's more because the Americans are kind of making it difficult for them to buy stuff, and they decided to, okay, let's go open source. But it's not a very strong movement. Still, they are in the beginning. I think they are where we were at 2003. But I think they will succeed in the next few years.
Hi, 2 quick questions, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Given that Plone is so useful for governments or non-governmental organizations especially, and there are a lot of Python developers around, how easy is it for people who already know Python and their own Python developers to start developing on Plone?
Oh man, we agreed you not ask this. I'm in a difficult position. Actually, you see, all through our little history, it was the other way around. People learn Python to work with Plone. Right now we have a movement where people learn Python because Django is cool, and we try to, okay, there's Plone. Plone's a already established solution. It's in here. You don't need to code that much. You know, if you are a perfectionist and you have a deadline, the best solution is not to write code just because it's cool. It's kind of, okay, we have a good solution. But Python, Plone is seen as unPythonic. Even though the whole Pythonic stuff came way after, the Plone and Zope were well established and so on. But there are initiatives within the Plone community to attract new developers by speaking the same language. We have one called Plone API. We will have, I think, a sprint in here tomorrow or Sunday with Nick Zupan that is trying to, okay, it's an API very Django-like, very pyramid-like, to ease the barrier for new developers to come.
And the second quick question is, since there's, I believe Plone's one of the most active open source communities, with all these contributions now coming into Plone, how do you ensure the code integrity of the core?
Actually, that's a very, very interesting question. I'll try not to get into it very, very deep, mainly because the first thing, a few months ago, I think a year and a half ago, we have had the discussion within the community that was, okay, everybody else is moving to GitHub, collaboration is happening, it's very important. Why we still use SVN, and it's hard to contribute to Plone? And we decided, okay, we're moving to GitHub. We are easing the way of people contribute. Since then, we have a spike of the number of commits and the number of committers. But any new code must be tested, and there's a code review based on pull requests that allow us to keep things in a certain quality level.
When I was reading that there's this collaboration problem even within the governments of your country, I was thinking about maybe if sneaking in some Affero GPL code would help. So you would be somehow forced to publish the code if people are using your website.
You know, there's a camera in there. But we did something like that. You see, at a certain point, we were kind of, okay, we're developing a lot of stuff, and we were not allowed to contribute, but they are not saying anything. If I develop new code, I'm not allowed to open source it. But if the code is already there. So I've heard of, I've never seen that some people within the government go there and create a project on GitHub, bare bones project, then start coding. So it's a way of, you know, using the law in your favor. Okay, I'm using something that's there. Oh, but you're not allowed to contribute. Sorry, GPL. You know, it's like I'll be dead either way. I prefer to be prosecuted here than my fellow members in the Python community hating me. So that's the way things are. But just to be sure, I don't know who did it.
Okay, so
Hello, boss.
in the last years, we have seen a lot of effort from the PSF, the EuroPython community to increase diversity. And one of the aspects of diversity that is less in the vibe is getting South America, Asian, or other African countries involved in the Python community. And you guys are doing a really great job there. And how do you think we can help you, like the PSF or the EuroPython Society? And
you see, PSF is helping already. One thing that happens, and the Plone Foundation is doing its job also, is it's very hard to travel to South America. I invite you guys in Europe because it's kind of, yeah, there's a weekend, let's do a sprint on Brussels. Everybody flies there, get a train. It's very cheap. You meet, you talk to each other. It's fantastic. But we are isolated. We have a few opportunities to meet in person. And we are using these opportunities to also bring people from Europe and America to come to Brazil and Argentina. We've been doing that for the past 3 years. We basically join PyCon Argentina is in 1 week. The following week is Python Brazil. And then we invite, for instance, Steve Holden came to both of them last year. It's one flight from Europe to South America, and then you do, stop in every possible place. Because it's the only way of making that economically viable. PSF helps putting money to move people. I don't think we need money to print stuff, or we need money to have people that are not from our community. We think talking to our guys and interacting. The Plone Foundation does the same, mainly because we ask a lot, like, okay, we're going to have a symposium, bring people here. It's great to integrate. And this way, I'll have these shy Brazilians. Brazilians speak Portuguese, not Spanish. And we are very shy and always, sorry by my English, I'm afraid. And so people in the Brazilian community, we have a lot of good Python developers that are shy or afraid to come up and discuss stuff in English-only lists. And this is something we are trying to change by bringing English speakers to talk to them and kind of easy their adaptation.
Just a comment, actually. I think one initiative that you didn't mention was the public software portal.
Oh, thank you. The Brazilian government did something very, very interesting. That is, okay, they created a portal called Public Software Portal, and they ask for every solution to be listed there. And when someone is buying something, like, I want an ERP solution, they must go there first, look at the choices, and if they decide to, okay, we are going with SAP instead of RP5 or OpenRP, they need to justify. They need to write a letter, okay, we are doing this because of this and this and this. Of course, in $100 million or $100 million bid, yeah, you can afford someone to write a lot of text. That happened in a state bank a few weeks ago. There was this huge outcry. They were asking, we are buying 50,000 Office licenses. Microsoft Office licenses. Yeah. And, we try to avoid this kind of stuff, but it still happens. Okay?
Anyone else?
Actually, I'll be here. We can talk. The number just did resetting there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.